like to invite people to get involved and engage in what's going on. If anybody can grab pen and paper, that'd be helpful. There's just a little exercise as we go through. So if you can have a pen and paper ready, that'd be good. So, like I said, Ultan Molloy is my name. I'm a Gallup accredited strengths coach. These are my top 5 strengths: ideation, relator, strategic, learner, and input. We'll talk a little bit about the Gallup approach as we go through this, and I've tried to broaden it out outside of Gallup then in the context of positive psychology and how we approach strengths in our coaching practice and how we see our coachees. So the sequence for this evening, what I've aimed for is to do what we just did. Welcome everybody, and thank you to the ICF board for inviting me to give the webinar, and thanks for Siobhan for hosting it. The housekeeping, just a little bit around your microphone and managing the mic. We do have a chat box, so if things come up and you have questions as we go, if you can put them into the chat box for everybody's reference, that'll mean that we'll be able to come back to them when the chance allows. Somebody's mic is on there now, and we're hearing clip clapping. So whoever you are, you might identify yourself. So that's it.
Let's see.
You can mute everybody again, Siobhan, if you like, and I'll unmute myself.
Okay, sorry.
Thanks. So we're going to push on through. So we're going to look at why we focus on strengths as coaches. Engagement and productivity, what this focus on strengths will do for us and allow us to unlock for ourselves, our coachees, and the clients we work for, if they're companies or corporates or whatever that might be. Talent and what feels natural. So the philosophy behind this is your strength will come from your talent, and nurturing that talent and developing that talent into a strength. So the initial work, and I guess a lot of the work that we do as coaches, is about facilitating our clients and our coachees to come to that awareness around what they naturally have in them. That idea of, as Niall Gogarty said, the coachee knows themselves better than we'll ever know them. So it's just a case of facilitating that. We'll have just a brief note on teams, just how the Strengths Finder tool specifically can be used with teams. Other strengths advocates of the strengths philosophy, but when I say other ones, I mean ones other than Gallup. And a lot of these materials are Gallup materials, certainly in the initial part. Connecting with our own values, our coachees, and unconditional positive regard. The core competency as part of this webinar, and I think part of the value in this webinar for us as coaches will be around looking at, what this means for us, what our reflections have brought up, and what we can learn and take away into our coaching practice. So exactly, so what does this mean for ourselves in our coaching practice? And then of course open discussion and shared learning. We have a lot of very smart people in the room, so I'd like to have us share our learning. That'd be great, if you wouldn't mind. Behind us, what lies before us are tiny matters compared with what lies within us. So this quote is unattributed, but we've got 7 billion people on the planet. No two people are the same. We don't exist independent of one another. So the idea, I guess, is that idea that we're all quite unique in our abilities, our approach to life, our values, and what we bring to the world. And the opportunity, I guess, is in recognizing that, and recognizing what's going on for other people, and looking at that synergies and having an appreciation and respect for diversity. So the key to success is to fully understand how to apply your greatest talents and strengths in your everyday life. So this is the Gallup philosophy. Nelson Mandela. We just have a little think about what's made these different people successful. So might invite a little bit of participation here, Siobhan, if you can unmute people, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So in terms of strengths and talents, could I invite people to give an opinion on what made this man so
Did
great?
that work? That doesn't work. Hold on.
No, that worked there, yeah.
Resilience, maybe.
Resilience, good, yeah. So he went through all of his time in Robben Island and came back arguably stronger for it. So
he was also somebody who was so readily able to forgive.
yeah, so that's, yeah, he'd forgiveness, excellent. And that readiness to not let that eat him up and sort of move on with his life and harness his own talents. Excellent. Thank you, Marion.
And humor, Ultan. He seemed to enjoy life and laugh and have fun with people, which is incredible given all that.
Yeah, definitely. Humor is really important. I think we probably all think of coaches who readily embrace humor, and some other coaches who would not naturally go there. Definitely, you can see from Nelson Mandela's face, he's got this ongoing, really warm smile, which is fantastic. So humor as well, yeah. I'd suggest sort of patience and diplomacy, these sort of things that he brings with him as well as the ones he brought up. Graham Norton. Talents or strengths that this man has.
He's got a great sense of humor.
He has a great sense of humor, yeah. I enjoy him, yeah. So he's got the fun going on.
Yeah.
He's a very good communicator too.
Very good communicator, excellent. Maybe that's something the two of them share. And maybe now. Sorry, what's that?
Builds rapport with people, it would seem.
Builds rapport, yeah. Loosens them up with a couple of drinks maybe first. Great. Richard Branson.
Oh.
Talents and strengths.
He's a very smart guy.
Very what?
Very smart. Very intelligent.
Very intelligent guy, very smart guy. Indeed.
Visions. You get visions.
Visions, yeah, indeed. So he was futuristic. It'd probably be a strengths finder strength that he'd bring to the party, as they say.
No fear.
No fear, yeah. Ready to go for things, you know, all guns blazing. Kind of maybe a focus there, with futuristic. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Dave. Next lady, Selena Williams.
Perseverance.
Yeah.
Perseverance, yeah. So she was training and practicing from a very young age. Her father moved herself and her sister. They moved to quite a distance to train with a particular coach, who they thought would bring the best out of the girls, and that's what happened. And she's still been playing strongly. She had a good training partner by all accounts. And I guess the thing to be mindful of here is all these people and all this diversity. People are quite unique in their own right. You know, they might have some shared strengths, maybe arguably in terms of communication or, you know, maybe a vision or focus or resolve, these kind of things. But they're really quite unique. And that's what we need to bear in mind for ourselves. I think it's always a good place to start, and also for our coaches and how we meet them where they're at. So this is more of the why. On the strengths, people who focus on their strengths are 3 times more likely to report an excellent quality of life, and are 6 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs. So this is based on Gallup data as well. So I guess the opportunity for us as coaches, how can we support them in this, and how can we support organizations in you know, bringing this to their staff. And managers are responsible for about 70% of engagement, so they're even educating the managers around this sort of material and this philosophy be very helpful in terms of the engagement of their staff. We might need the mics there again, if you don't mind, Siobhan. Thank you. Just for a few minutes.
Ultan, your mic is on. Or sorry.
My mic
No,
is still on.
your mic has been on there. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Siobhan. Sorry. So, what I was saying is it's important for us to deliver for our coachees, for ourselves, and also for our clients if we're working in an organisation. People working in their strength zone look forward to going to work. This is the idea. This is an alignment piece. They have more positive than negative interactions with co-workers. We all would, on some level, enjoy harmony in the workplace as much as we can. Customers better if they're in a customer service role. Tell their friends they work for a great company. Again, this is based on feedback. Achieve more on a daily basis. So if you're going to be more engaged in your work and going to be more aligned with what you're doing, of course you're going to get through more stuff. You're going to feel better. Have more positive, creative, and innovative moments. So this is the idea of breakthroughs. People who focus on their strengths maximize their potential. So they've got, again, based on objective data coming back, people who learn to use their strengths every day have 7.8% greater productivity. You can imagine what the impact of that is on a wage bill of €1 million or even 100,000 euros, or you can pare it back whatever way you like. With greater productivity, you can see it on the bottom. Teams who receive strengths feedback have 8.9% greater profitability as well. So it does really add up. Often, this making the soft stuff hard is really important certainly for our work as coaches when we're going in talking to our clients or potential clients. They want to see how this is going to deliver for them and their people. People who focus on their strengths and using their strengths maximize their potential. So there's a strong connection between who people are and what they do best. There's a strong connection between what people do best and how they feel. And then there's a strong connection between how people feel and how they want to perform on a day-to-day basis. So again, bringing this all back to our position as coaches, it's, helping and facilitating that learning and development for our coachees around where they're coming from and unlocking these insights for them. This is from the Gallup survey, Gallup again. So over the last decade, Gallup have surveyed more than 10 million people worldwide. They asked them to rate on a scale of 1 to 5. If they have, under this question, at work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. And just 1 in 4 people strongly agree that they're doing what they do. They get that opportunity to do what they do best every day. So while engagement at work is improving, and it's definitely something that a lot of coaches are looking at and working with companies on. This week we've a bit of a way to go yet on it. Okay. So yeah, 87% of global employees are not engaged at work. This is based on Gallup data 2016, or it's dated 2016, the most recent data for that. So they considered partially engaged and not engaged employees as not engaged. So but you can engaged on an ongoing basis, 13% really isn't, could be better. It's global. In the States, it's slightly in excess of 30%. They're doing a little bit better over there. Maybe they don't get as many holidays as us. Maybe they're kind of in the work headspace a bit more. Or I don't have an answer to that, the why of that, but they're the stats anyway. So, and then strengths-based management, the opportunity. We're still kind of on the why. So if an employee is ignored, this is so 2% of 2% of them are engaged, 57% are not engaged, sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and then 40% are actively disengaged, so they're not moving themselves, your clients, your company in the direction that it needs to go. A focus on weaknesses, and again, this is very much driven by the managers have the immediate effect on this for maybe 70 to 80% of the full effect. If their focus is on weaknesses, I suppose it's a bit like some attention is better than no attention. but we get 45% engaged, 33% non-engaged, and then 22% actively disengaged again. But the optimal outcome, you can apply this again. We can go to organizations, we can go to teams, we can go to individuals around alignment and coaching. You end up with 61% engaged, 33% not engaged, so kind of half there. But the actively disengaged goes to 1%, so disruption. So there we go. Teams with managers who focus on their strengths are more likely to be engaged, as I was saying. So it's the managers who are the key players here, and the key players that we need to work on. So this is the father of strengths psychology, Donald Clifton. It's the Clifton Strengths Finder is the tool that he developed. So he challenges the I suppose the kind of school report mentality. It's good but could do better, and needs to improve here and here kind of idea, and moves more to and moved indeed. He's passed away now. More towards what if we focus on what's right with people rather than fixating on what's wrong. So there's it ties in nicely with some other philosophies around positive psychology and framing for people. So everybody's got talent. So we Gallup defines it as a naturally recurring pattern of thought, feeling, or behavior that can be productively applied. Yeah. So whether it's playing music or unraveling data in your head or remembering things or whatever it might be, we can consider that a talent. Here we go. Examples of talent: effortlessly and instinctively starting conversations with other people. I don't know how people find that. Sometimes it can be very easy, but I've seen people work at this and they're just amazing how they can work a room and that sort of stuff. Thinking in an orderly or timely manner. I know Laura, my wife, would suggest that that's not one of my strengths from time to time, but I can own that. Being able to easily influence others. So this idea of winning others over, one of the themes in the Gallup Strengths Finder is woo. So this idea of winning others over and really enjoying that kind of approach. Seeing patterns in data, so that's kind of analytical strength maybe. Consistently having a positive outlook on life. That positivity is another one of the strengths themes in the Strengths Finder. So can we unmic everybody's mics there now?
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
So I'd like to invite people to grab their pens and papers. Their pen and paper. And what I'd like you to do with your non-dominant hand, so the hand that you don't normally write with, is to just write your name on a piece of paper. Lots of activity going on. It's good. I don't get to see you guys, so with the hand you don't normally write your name with, to write your name. How did that go?
Okay.
It's funny, my first name looks better than my second name. Which is kind of interesting. I don't know what that means.
Good stuff. So let's try it with your regular hand, just first. So how did that go for people?
Better.
Quicker.
So better, quicker, and
Sure.
yeah, I get it. So I guess the point of the exercise. Thanks very much, guys. The point of the exercise is just to highlight that we have both left and right-handed people in the world. What feels natural to you and what you're naturally used to doing is going to be a lot easier to embrace on a day-to-day basis than trying to force yourself to do something that isn't really coming natural to you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks very much, everyone. might mute the mic there again if you don't mind.
I will.
Yvonne, thank you. There's nothing wrong with being aware of our weaknesses or perceived weaknesses, but it's managing them that we need to do. And our greatest opportunity for success lies in building our natural talents. Yeah. So everybody has talent. The idea, just to clarify these terms, and we'll reflect on them again after. So talent is a natural way of thinking, feeling, or behaving. Investing in talent, and time practicing and working on your talent leads to this idea of strength. So the ability to consistently apply performance. So this is the key kind of definition, I guess, in terms of what a strength means. So it's consistent application of performance quite readily. You know, this is a bit like writing with the right hand. It doesn't involve you know, a struggle and a spider kind of thing running across a page. So just a quick brief note again, I guess, on the point of how we approach managing people, how we approach working with our coachees as well. Clearly, you know, we want to move from this idea of measuring everything, and it's often maybe a more traditional approach or an older approach in some organizations. You know, this measurement might be the focus rather than a focus on improving behaviors. You know, everything really has to come down to behaviors in the end, ideas or you know, metrics or whatever need to have momentum applied in order for things to happen, and we can call ourselves out and other people out on actual behaviors. You know, what presents in the world. That's not disputable. So yeah, so the Clifton Strengths Finder as a tool, as one of the tools available, gives us an opportunity. It gives us a common language. So it says here, the code that cracks open your awareness to your unique talents. So there's 177 questions. And what this can do for you or your clients, for me, I've done it, I've done the training on it, I really enjoy it as a tool. It gives us a common language, but it also unearths maybe natural talents, things that are a little bit below the surface that maybe you hadn't considered. We can sort of behave ourselves into things or think ourselves into good ideas. So this can be quite challenging for, I certainly found it interesting and quite challenging as well. The opportunity then, maybe you might find that you're perfectly well aligned and doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and loving completely engaged and feeling really strong and productive all the time, or the majority of the time, which is fantastic. And maybe it's affirming from that point of view. I'd suggest there's probably opportunities in it though as well for learning and development for ourselves initially, and then of course how we operate with our coachees or if they're invited to use it. So a brief recap. So defining the terms used, talent is a naturally recurring pattern of thought, feeling, or behavior that can be productively applied. Yeah. So strength is the ability to consistently produce a positive outcome through near perfect performance in a specific task. So to finish with strength, we need to start out with talent. And the theme, in the context of the Gallup Strengths Finder, the themes help you begin to discover and talk about your greatest talents. So it's one of the things I use a number of different psychometrics, and it's one of the things that I really enjoy about them. It gives yourself and your coachee, or yourself and your team that you're working with, a common language. So it sort of gets everybody on the same page, so to speak, and it can be a lot easier for helping with momentum and moving things forward. This is just a brief look at the team strengths grid. These along the top here are the 34 themes as that the Strengths Finder uses. the name of the team, and then the team, the participants, the different people who are in the team, will have rated them from 1 to 34, these different things. So this is used, this, for example, the top strengths. So as I said, when somebody does the Strengths Finder test, you might just do 1 to 5. Okay, so Stryker is an organization that they do the top 5 strengths with all other staff, and they use this as a tool for engagement. Then 1 to 5, you might have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 along here, so that it suggests that person who's got their 1 to 5 is strong on the executing themes. So the themes are split up into 4 different segments: executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. You might have another team member then that is maybe strong in influencing strengths, so another one strong in relationship building, another one strong in strategic thinking. And the opportunity, I guess, across the team is to look at maybe where the team is strong and where the team needs to be mindful of. My strengths, 5 of my top 6 are in strategic thinking, interestingly. I don't know. You can tell me at the end of this webinar if that means I'm in the right job or not. There's analytical, ideation, input, learner, and strategic are all in my top 6. I have relator as my second theme. I'll share all 34 with you at the end if you want to have a look at that. It might be interesting for context. So no more than any other team development piece, it's looking at what you're good at, what the person with you or the people with you are good at, where could be your blind spots, where are the opportunities, how are you going to work together to achieve the outcome that you want to achieve. And then this is just a brief note. So 4 fundamental team coaching conversations. So start with talent, finish with strengths, power of strengths-based partnerships, the DNA of the team, and the best of us. So how do we harness individual and collective talents? And before coaching a team on strengths, of course, you have to work with the team's manager. You need to have buy-in. When managers are responsible for 70% plus of team engagement, if they're not on board, it could be a wasted exercise for everybody. So where are we at now? Let's just see. Anybody recognize this guy? Can we unmute the mics again?
Hold on, sorry. Okay.
Great. Anyone know who this guy is?
No.
No?
No idea.
So this guy is Martin Seligman. He's considered to be the founder of this positive psychology school of thought. So positive, his philosophy, I guess, the evidence around his research suggests that positive emotion, engagement, and meaning are key for a life well lived. And I'd suggest, broadening out this strengths concept and idea. He's got engagement as one of his key elements. Positive emotion we touched on a little bit earlier as well. So this strengths philosophy does feed into that. He talks about 24 character strengths. It's just another way of. We might mute the mics again there, Siobhan, please.
I will. You unmute yourself.
I will do. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. I'll be talking away to myself, as does happen from time to time as well. Character strengths. So this is the way Seligman, as broken down, is take on the character strengths. So this guy, anyone know him? Give everybody on mute again now. This is a little bit too and fro. Sorry, Siobhan. Anybody know who he is? No?
Oh.
So this is Peter Drucker. You see a lot of his quotes spreading around the place as well. So Peter Drucker has written a piece on managing oneself. More recently, actually, I think it was back in 1999. And again, he challenges us to ask ourselves, what are my strengths? He recommends feedback analysis. We might mute them again there.
I'll do that, yeah.
Thank you. We recommend and recognizing and building helpful habits. So it's another approach to identifying your strengths, or again, the strengths of the coachee. So you look at what's working well, you make some decisions, and then you revisit your decisions down the line for learning. If anybody wants more details of that, I've got his chapter. I can email it on. Then you say the sequence of recommendation frames. So how do I perform? What are my values? And I just want to briefly touch on values before we pull everything together. Where do I belong? What should my contribution be? His philosophy is don't try and change yourself. Instead, concentrate on improving the skills that you have and accepting assignments that are tailored for your individual way of working. If you do that, you can transform yourself from an ordinary worker to an outstanding performer. So again, something for us to consider in terms of our own alignment, our own values, and what that means for our coachees and how we relate to them as well. There's a short reference from the Harvard Business Review there. So our values, I'd like, maybe we could just take a minute ourselves now and consider our own values and what's important to us. So I guess the opportunity here, other than our own alignment and getting clarity on what's important to us and what we consider to be valuable in our lives, is for ours very, very different to any of our coaching clients, and how does that affect our relationship with our coachees? I suppose the ultimate, the ideal really is that we're as objective and maintain ourselves, or manage ourselves for our coachees and support them. This I thought was interesting as well. Where's your sweet spot for ourselves, or again for our coachees? So the talent, we were talking about the Strengths Finder and the talent, the cultivated talent becoming a strength. The values we touched on briefly. John DeMartini as well, I think he's a guy, he does he's big on these values and knowing what's important to you. And then of course, what are you passionate about? This being the sweet spot, you know, you could be passionate about Transformers and not make a living off it or something, but you know, where do these things meet, and what opportunity does that provide us in ourselves and our thinking? How do we support our client to find their sweet spot as well? Is a consideration. So this is another guy. Anyone recognize this guy? We take the mics off. Thanks, Sean.
Hold on. Now.
Has somebody said something?
Carl Rogers.
Well done. Great. Thanks. Score. So Carl Rogers, and this is kind of again a further evolution really of the strengths philosophy. I'm just trying to tie it in to a few different things really that might unlock some thinking for us. He's this take of unconditional positive regard, this concept. The basic acceptance of a person regardless of what the person says or does, especially in the context of client-centered therapy. I know it's not therapy we're doing most of the time, that's what we hope anyway. But yes, this idea of how our values and what we're good at, how that can impact on our clients when they're in front of us as well. And I'd suggest that knowing ourselves and managing ourselves within that is critical to the success of our coaching. So how do we recognize when our own beliefs and values are challenged in a coaching session so we can best serve the client? I just wanted to put that out there. Could we unmute there and just, if anybody has anything they'd like to share on that? I think it's probably it's an important point. I find it interesting. Anybody want to contribute there? Or anything to share other than the telly in the background?
Ultan, are we getting a copy of these slides?
I'm happy to share them with you. They're like, a lot of them are Gallup slides. I've added on a little bit at the end, so it's just to be sensitive to.
Thank you.
No problem. Any thoughts there on how do we recognize our own beliefs and values have been challenged in the coaching session?
I think it's important initially to define your own values. I suppose it's like taking somebody down a path if you haven't walked that path before, or if you don't have enough knowledge of the path yourself, you know, and then realizing whether you're merging with them or not. So I suppose it takes a bit of self-awareness.
Great. Sophie?
Yes.
Thanks, Sophie. Anybody else have anything to add there? I'd agree with that. I don't think when we're unaware of things, I don't think we can manage them. I think bringing stuff to our own awareness initially is critical in order to manage it consciously.
Yeah, that can have a really, I suppose, massive impact on how a session could, you know, turn out for people. I think it's a really important point, actually.
So, yeah. Very good. Anyone else have any thoughts? Yeah. So myself, I guess I get tension in my upper back, or I'll start to feel a little bit tight in my chest. They're the kind of triggers for me. Or if it's an ongoing thing, I'll get a little bit of tension in my forehead. I'm kind of try and catch myself, but just to share that. And try and remind myself to keep myself out of it. So, just as a summary, really, I'd invite people to share their thoughts overall on what we've been through. If you have any questions in the chat function in Zoom, you can have a look at that. Any reflections, the trigger anthem for you, what we were talking about. Would you consider doing anything differently going forward in your practice? I guess no more than with our clients, we'd hope that these things translate, these insights translate into actions. And when speaking, would you mind just saying your name and you work it that way? Is that all right?
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Ultan. This is Miriam here. Thanks very much for that. That was really good. I think I'm definitely going to look at the Clifton Strengths Finder. That sounds very interesting. So I'll definitely take a look at that and share it, in fact, with the class that I'm in New York at the moment.
Great. Very good. Feel free to give me a shout if you wanted to know anything else about it, my experience with it anyway.
Okay.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Hi, Ultan, this is Fiona here. Hi, I was just wondering, because I find that the strengths-based coaching, obviously, it's more widely used. However, I'm interested to hear either your or somebody else's experience with regard to going into companies whereby the language used is with regard to their opportunities and their weaknesses and their development areas. And I suppose as you as a coach feel very strongly around focusing on this strengths-based, do you discuss that with the clients themselves initially, or is it something that you get into with the coachee, so to speak?
If the client is, who would you see as the client there? The individuals that you're coaching, or the person you're initially contracting with?
So I guess, say an organization employs you as a coach to go in and coach they could be high potential performers.
Okay.
Yet organizational language used around the outcome from their performance reviews is one of focusing on their weaknesses as the reasons for them needing coaching or the opportunities. So very much so opposite to focusing on the strengths-based.
Yeah. I guess my own opinion, I'm sure that there's plenty of other opinions in the room that I'd like to hear as well, is I'd probably call it, in as much as I could, you know, you kind of, there needs to be a certain level of trust, and people might ask for opinions sometimes and they don't really want opinions.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd probably be mindful of the relationship and what likely outcome is given what they've given me to work with, and either decide to engage or not engage on that basis. If I'd be reluctant to launch into something that I'd consider to be unwholesome for the coachees or.
Yeah, I agree. It's just funny that sometimes the organizational perspective or language used, maybe when dealing with the coach that they're employing, may be slightly different to the understanding of the employees themselves, and the language used by their line managers. You know,
There's probably an educational piece there, if you want to just. Sorry to interrupt you, but if there's a culture or, you know, paperwork or things set up in such a way, it can be quite readily changed and adapted if they're open to that, but while being mindful of the level of trust in the relationship. You know, if they and their expectations of you, there might be some low-hanging fruit. You could go, you know, if we reframe things this way, and this is more likely to produce the outcome you want.
Yeah.
And you can move them towards something that you believe will work, and sort of while being sensitive to their present things, you know, you're not dismantling it, you know, or kind of going back to you know, you're doing it all wrong kind of thing. But have you had some experience around that you wanted to share or discuss specifically, or?
Well, yeah, it was just, I guess, my initial at the outset in discussion with kind of the learning and development team. I guess, you know, they were looking to build upon strengths based, but when talking to the coachee, the language used by their line manager was very different. You know, it was more very much so focusing on and using the words weaknesses, and so just contrary, I guess, to what maybe the organisation thought was their cultural understanding.
Yeah. I don't know the full details of it, but maybe is there an educational piece for their line manager around, do they buy into the philosophy? Is it sort of developed? Is there maybe different understandings of what the company is buying into as a whole?
Yeah.
And the line managers see it as a foreign language and kind of can, you know, go back to using a helpful kind of philosophy argument, and that's something to call. Maybe just see it this way. You'd say my feedback is that this is what's happening, and you want me to achieve this. So, do you think that? So,
yeah.
Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
This is Michael here, the chapter coach. One of my comments would be, I suppose, that maybe there's just agreeing with Ultan in terms of the education. It's very important to maybe go back and potentially there's a niche there to coach some of the line managers, not just the high performers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it does start with the culture and it starts with top level down. So the learning and development team may have a disconnect or may have an agenda as to what they see the culture of one side of the company, but it will be the line managers that will drive this, because this is the people, the coaches will be going back into that environment on a daily basis. And if the line managers are not using the language based on strength-based coaching, the disconnect will just fester.
True.
Thanks, Michael. You'd agree, Miriam?
Yeah, completely. It's a very good way of thinking, but as Michael just said, some other people will have to be trained and educated as well in that regard. Yeah. Change old habits.
Fiona, if I can step in here, just because I actually am a learning and development specialist. So in a way, I think the challenge learning and development ends up having in corporates is that they are considered most of the time as an expense. And I think in a way, coaching falls under that as well, unless you have a culture within the company, as highlighted earlier on. Unless you have a culture where coaching is valued and is considered a valuable addition to the team, usually it's considered, the first thing that is almost looked at as an auxiliary expense, as something, because most of the time learning and development departments aren't very good at showing the value added, and they're not very good at highlighting what the benefits are. And I think in a way, if you're there telling people, well, I'm going to work on your strength, they're going, well, I'm already good enough at that. Why aren't you working on my weaknesses? And I suppose that's where the line managers are coming from. So there might, as Ultan said, there might be something to do with, first of all, raising the awareness in the company itself, and gauging whether they understand what they are asking of you. And I'm saying this is both as a coach and as somebody who has received coaching that was by a person who was guided by my line manager, that this is what I expect you to coach her on.
Okay.
And the conversation, within 30 minutes, the conversation moved into something that I hadn't even brought up. So I think that is where the gap happens, and it does take a bit of education around bringing that awareness in.
That idea of it being a developmental piece, focusing on what's working, and the appreciative inquiry kind of approach.
Yeah.
As opposed
what's
to,
working and what's not costing us a lot of money as well, and it's just showing them that if you're spending this much money on this is actually how you are getting your money's worth, and this is how you're getting value added to the business. And I think that's what we sometimes fail to do.
Great.
That it's not just something nice, it's actually something that will increase your productivity and all of that.
Great, thanks Sophie. I hope some of that sort of data, the Gallup data, might be helpful. I had an experience recently, and from my own experience with tenders, or approaching clients for business, the discussion was really around his departmental wage budget, what he thought the productivity gap could be, and then what then the cost of the intervention. So a €600,000 wage bill per annum, he reckoned productivity could be 10 to 20% better. You multiply that out, and then you go, this is going to cost whatever. It ends up sort of, looking like good value for money. But I guess different people have different approaches. Maybe they'd like to share. Very good. Anybody else, any thoughts or anything else they'd like to share?
I think it's Siobhan here, sorry. I think it's really important actually, Ultan, like the whole mind shift even around that, the change from just measuring, if you don't measure, you're not moving forward, to actually getting people to look at improving behavior. And I think that's a really important mind shift in how people are thinking, and what coaching could do.
Yeah,
for organizations. And I think really, I suppose it's the same as everything. It's good basic coaching at the end of the day. You kind of begin with an end in mind or an outcome for companies or organizations, and it's just a way then, whether it's through education or coaching, that you get people to what the best outcome would be, even if they haven't even thought, their thinking is probably not even around strength-based interventions, and not even understanding what it can do.
Yeah, I hear you. Fiona was kind of saying about that idea of the opportunity, though, and if people are talking opportunity, I think that's the word to go with, as opposed to weakness.
Yeah.
Opportunity for your company. How could things be different, and help them build a picture of the future that's more wholesome. We're all driven by different things. I guess, results, you can go back to the kind of the Jungian idea, the DISC or insights, that kind of stuff. Results, sort of the enthusiasm, fun, team harmony, or, getting it right. But there's an opportunity here to address all those four needs in that we can get it right with this data. There's evidence to provide to say that this does work. It does increase engagement. It does increase productivity. It will deliver the results if the process is followed. And you know, people are going to be happier and more engaged in the workplace. So there's no, that should tick boxes for most people. And that doesn't say it does all the time either. Get resistance from all sorts of places.
Yeah, I think it's about joining the dots for them, you know, when you're talking about individuals here, and then tying that into, I suppose, the team then, and getting team outcomes and things like that. So, you know, the sum of the parts will always, you know, if you're starting with parts in a better place, the team outcome potentially can be much better also, and that I suppose is hard to measure also. That's a great job for learning and development to come up with a measurement tool.
Yeah. Well, the Gallup actually, they have a Q12 too. I was at a meeting there in London on Wednesday last, and we're a couple of case studies, one by Pfizer and one by a gentleman from Eastern Europe who'd been into a telecoms company, and he worked with managers and looked at their engagement levels and based around this Q12 survey before specific interventions. So they looked at the 12 questions in a company that had a survey that had 210 questions, I think, to start off with, and maybe 15 different metrics, which is kind of impossible to work with to action. So they did their 12 questions. They looked at what they considered to be the three most critical to work on to improve engagement, and then put training and development pieces in place for managers to help educate the managers around those specific areas. And then we measured it after the intervention, just months later. So there were two sets of meetings, and looked at the increase in performance. So can be measured. That gentleman actually took an interesting approach to his business aspects. He worked on a success fee basis. So he got paid based on the success of his work. So he was confident enough going in that he could deliver. And they made an agreement that he'd get something like 40% of his fee if it was a failure. But then the other 60% was to work either side of the 100. I don't know, making this very clear. So he'd get 160% of his fee if it was successful, or 40% of his fee if it was unsuccessful, which would just cover his costs. But he used these metrics to actually show that the intervention was successful for the company.
Okay.
So, wow. And he was working with managers. There were 3 layers of management, and he worked with the leadership team and the first layer that had 26 managers. The idea being that he'd move to the next layer if it was successful, which it was, and they've rolled out a plan now for next year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the joining the dots bit.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. So thanks very much, everyone. I don't know if any final questions or anything, but thanks to everybody who participated. Fiona, Michael, Mary, Siobhan, Sophie. Thank you.
Thank you, Ultan.
Thanks, Ultan. Listen, I'll just finish up before everybody goes. So listen, thanks to everybody for logging in this evening, and new people, and we had a chat there before we started. We're very global this evening. We're dialing in from Caymans and from Lanzarote and from Dublin and all over Ireland, so thanks to everyone for kind of taking the time out. I just also wanted to plug for anybody interested, we're doing our first face-to-face event in the Facebook HQ in Dublin next Tuesday. So if you haven't registered, feel free to
got my ticket already.
Yeah, there's still tickets available. I see Emer actually as well. Emer Doyle is on with us there, or she was earlier on. I'm not sure if she's still here. Emer is going to do our next webinar for us actually at the end of March as well, on the 28th, and Emer is going to talk about credentialing that night. So and I suppose, look, always an open invitation. I'm new to the board this year. Thanks, Ultan, for the heads up. Not is all I can say for my inbox exploding, but I'm actually really enjoying it. But I suppose, look, I really see benefit in reaching out to the members, and that's what a lot of the Facebook meeting will be about next week. And if people have any areas that they'd like to see covered, or I'm always open to ideas and, you know, interested in kind of new ways of thinking and new ways of getting stuff out there. If you know anybody or contacts, or, you know, that you've come across in any trainings or anything, feel free to connect with me directly. Of course, it would be great if they all qualified for CCEUs, and thanks to Ultan for his contribution on that for this webinar. And actually, on that note, if anybody would like to get their CCEUs, Kathleen, are you still on?
I'm here, yeah.
Kathleen, is that the best thing, Kathleen, for people to contact you?
Yeah, I think actually we have, yes, that's perfect. Yeah.
If you want to contact Kathleen. Sorry, I think I'm getting an echo on my mic now. I might contact Kathleen directly. You get her email off the website, or she's fanning.kathleen@gmail.com. So I can't think, is there anything else on my list? Ultan, thanks very much again. It was really insightful, actually. I got a lot out of it, and I love the fact that, you know, uniqueness equals, you know, or, you know, productivity and engagement. It's all connected, and, you know, we are all unique. So thanks for kind of pointing out the obvious to us, but we need to hear it every now and again.
Thanks to yourself, and thanks to the board, indeed Kathleen as well, for organising it all. Thanks a lot.
Great. So there is a recording on this, actually. So in the next day or two, I'll put an audio and probably video recording up on the website, the ICF Ireland website. Well, James will do it, hopefully, if I speak nicely to him. So and feel free just to drop us a mail, as I said, on feedback or on anything else you'd like to see over the year. So thanks to everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.